But switching gears to Scott Martin, you've seen him all over. I mean, Media Scott, social media, Origin Park, I mean, River Heritage Conservancy. We're going to talk about that. We have your beautiful dog who is walking around. Can we start with Alice, please?
We should, shouldn't we? Let's see if we can bribe for attention. How about that? Alice, come here, girl. Come here. Oh, come say hi. Say to Angie.
Oh, hi. So first, tell us about Alice. I've never seen a brown Dalmatian, and her ears amazing.
She is. She is
I know
like
you know this.
liver spotted Dalmatian. So we've had Jen and I have always had Dalmatians. That was the first thing we bought as a married couple was a rescue Dalmatian. So we always have Dalmatians, and she's the latest addition to the family. And she is liver spotted, but she is pet grade, not show grade. Pet grade. Because her ear, like you said, Angie, you see how it's all one brown spot.
It's beautiful.
That's technically a flaw for Dalmatians. So they can't be bred or shown, and we don't do that stuff anyhow. But that's why she is pet grade. But she's sweet, lovely. She's 9 months old. She's a joy to us. And I had this dream one day of being the park director who walks around the park with the dog off leash, on leash if there's a rule. But you know, everything is this beautiful moment with birds chirping. I have yet to have that moment, but I hope for it one day.
Okay, so let's start though in terms of that. Let's start with the moment with Alice. Can she go off leash with you?
Not yet. We don't trust her yet, and we are an on leash community, so it would be irresponsible as a dog owner to have your dog off leash. Not so much for your dog, but for how your dog may make other people feel.
I love to hear that because you know that I'm an animal lover, and we have 4 dogs, and so that's a lot of leash happening. But it's
better for everybody.
Absolutely. But Scott, where did you fall in love with the great outdoors?
I've always been a park person. My first job was actually as a National Park Service ranger.
But go back even before that.
Even before that?
What's your first memory where you just, as a child, where you just said, I'm home?
Yeah, Angie, I think if I can age both of us, like we're the Gen Xers, we may be the last generation that in the summer, like our parents threw us out and we'd come back at 5 o'clock at night.
Absolutely.
And who knows what happened. I don't even know where we got lunch. I don't know how things happened. But that was life. So that's always, the outdoors has always been a special place to me. And as a person, the world is full of distractions, more so now than ever before. And as someone who I have to deal with my own little inner ADD battles, the only place I ground my soul and my spirit is in the outdoors. It's where you have to settle down. You hit that walking pace. For me, it's whitewater kayaking and other stuff. But you have to be in the moment and be in the now. And from age whatever till today, I find that's my spiritual place.
Tell me, so where did you grow up?
Okay. I grew up in Hopewell, Virginia, very similar to Southern Indiana. It's the other side of the James River from the big city, Richmond, Virginia.
So what were the kinds of things then that you did as a kid? Because I think we both take it for granted. You and I have known each other long enough that, I'm from rural Michigan and grew up, like you said, outdoors, except there in Michigan, you grow up in all the seasons because you're ice fishing, you're hiking, you're doing all kinds of things. Otherwise, you would never see anybody. We lived all 4 seasons outside. And so that's where my love came from. But paint that picture. You're in Hopewell, Virginia, and you're a kid. What do you love doing? Yeah,
you're running down to the river to go chase eels and catfish. You're doing the things you shouldn't do, like racing across trestles. And, it's what was the movie with the Stand By Me? You're doing all of that stuff. And like you said, so thoughtfully, and thank you for bringing that up, there's no such thing as bad weather, just bad gear. You're doing it all 4 seasons. And that was life for us growing up. And then I went to boarding school for high school and military school, in fact. And I was very lucky to be taken into a church where the youth director really put his arm around me. And our Sunday getaway was in the Blue Ridge Mountains, walking on trails, fly fishing, mountain biking, whatever it was. And that became a very safe and a very special, sacred place and sacred time to me as well.
I have to go back because I did my homework and I know, Boise State and some of your travels, but military school.
Yeah.
Wow.
That surprises people. They're like hippie Scott in military school.
But I love that. But what have you taken from military school that translates into what you're doing now?
It seems counterintuitive, but I'll tell you, Angie, as a teenager, being not sent, but going to military school, however you want to phrase it, it strips away everything that's a distraction. It doesn't matter anymore what clothes you wear, who has money, who doesn't, who's in fashion, who's not. And you've got to figure out who you are. And if you really dial into it and take advantage of it at a very young age, you have to find out where your morals are, where are your values, and who you are.
What you just said about the school, doesn't matter who you are, how much money you have. Isn't that true also about the great outdoors?
That's exactly the point. It's a giant leveling field for all of us.
It absolutely is. So what brought you to this area after Boise?
Yeah, well, Boise, then Virginia, and back and forth. But I guess the more localized story is I was brought here by the Jones family to help build out the parklands of Floyd's Fork. And I was team member number 3 or 4 in 2010 when that was just an idea, and had just the incredible fortune to be a part of a team that built, the largest new park our nation has built in an urban setting in the last generation. And to do it in the span of 7 years and do it as a private-public partnership and be around, not name dropping, but there's name dropping, to be around a David Jones and see how much he gave back out of just the goodness of his heart and how much he loved his home. To be in those rooms and to be part of that change was the most remarkable experience I've had in my career.
So is this true? Then instead of wooing you, I mean, Mr. Jones and that whole entire board, that whole entire team that helped to build that could have taken you anywhere. I mean, they could have flown you to Paris for lunch, but excuse me, $3 cheeseburgers at Cunningham's on Harrods Creek.
Yeah.
And that's how they wooed you.
Yeah. Yeah. My wife and I, David Jones and Betty and Dan and Lisa, and $3 burgers and PBRs at Cunningham's. And that's when you know it's real. It's not about show. And this park work we do, if we do it right, and it drives my heart, obviously, it's never about personalities. It can never be about ego or I. It literally and honestly is one of the most humane, generous things a community can do for itself.
Okay, so the River Heritage Conservancy has a vision that has obviously manifested in Origin Park. Without spending 3 hours, because I think
I can do it.
I think we both can do it together. Describe what you and the board really envision Origin Park to be, especially to people who don't know, people who aren't in on those conversations right now. What is this?
The big idea is, in our community of 1.2 million people, there's one last frontier in our urban setting where all of our stories come together. And this is very much a story-driven project. Is we elevate that 600 acres to its place. We restore it, we heal it, and we complete what we consider to be Olmsted's idea when he did the park system in Louisville, which is we knit our communities together across the region with world-class public landscapes that are free for everybody, that are open to everybody. The unique part of the Origin Park story, Angie, is I will never, ever work on a more historic or culturally sensitive landscape in my life. This piece of land has been inhabited for 12,000 years by First Nations, our elders, our indigenous communities. It's been the site of Lewis and Clark. They actually left for the Greatest American Road Trip at this site. It's where the state of Indiana began. These are all properties we now own. The Underground Railroad came through our site, and the first time an individual would have had feet on ground where they were a whole person is on the site. This narrative and this story on the American story, we find so much responsibility to get it right, reflection, and deep reflection, thoughtful reflection. And then concurrently with that, joy, restoration, smiling, and wildlife is how the whole thing comes together. So the macro statement is this, and I know I'm going on too long.
No, you're fine.
This park will be unlike any other park in our region. It's unlike any other park built in the United States. It's the first climate change adaptive park designed in the Upper South. It's the first park in our region designed by a female lead architect. Believe it or not, no other parks have a female lead architect behind it. And it's a park that is very much focused on the authenticity of our region. We're not trying to be something else. Don't be Indy. Don't be Nashville. Don't be Boulder. Be who we are. Celebrate the 180 birds that come through it every year. Celebrate those First Nations. Bring artists in that tell us those stories in ways that connect us. That's really our goal.
So when you look at the people who are the driving force behind this, and you know this, it's very evident. I'm listening to you and I see the diversity and the richness of that tapestry of diversity of the literal land and the water. but I don't see that diversity in your board. So how are you ensuring that the people who are driving the vision that again lack in diversity aren't just pushing their vision, but are ensuring that you are listening to diverse voices from all walks of life? Going back to your military school, when you learned it doesn't matter how much money is in your pocket or the color of your skin or your background or your challenges. What are you doing as a team? What are you doing personally to ensure, okay, this is going to affect all of us?
Yes.
We need to make sure that we are hearing from everyone.
That's exactly right. And I'm so glad you brought that up. One, it's a journey. And if we learned, I know. And if we learned, that was affirmation. She's got you. The best parks in this country, and let's name them. Central Park in New York, the Presidio, Golden Gate, name the great ones, is about, and this can't be buzzwords. And if you're doing it right, it's not buzzwords. It's something deeper and richer than that everyone has a part and a role, and everyone has a story to tell. So we are growing that as we go. We see it across the region. We have board members who are from Louisville as much as Southern Indiana, and now Indy. You'll see us grow racial, ethnic, age diversity as we continue to grow out as well. And the ultimate lift is this. This is a journey. And everyone thinks about things as projects, Angie. And the more time I spend in this field, the project is part of it, but it's really about the story that comes around it. I know I'm addicted to story, but Barry Lopez informed our work. Yes, he did, before he passed away. And he had a very, very quick story that he wanted to tell us before he passed. And he said, the knuckleheads who got us into the mess we're in today are not going to be the knuckleheads or systems that get us out. And the key is the team that we pull together to create those new partnerships and a new idea of what a park can be is our leap forward. So the answer to you is this. This has to be inclusive. It will be adding more people. If people want to be part of it, our definition of R is this, not R this. And so you'll see us reaching out across every way possible. Case in point, just an example. And I have so many secrets that I want to tell that I can't yet. When we talk about historical and cultural interpretation on our site, it's not going to be signs. It's going to be art, and it's going to be artists that we bring in. And they're not going to look like me, and they shouldn't look like me, and they shouldn't talk like me, and they shouldn't have my same voice. They have to bring their own voice. And letting those artists be turned loose to interpret and bring that space to life is what's driving us right now in terms of how the programming goes. So that's our DNA.
And I also have to, I have to just attest to this because I have been following along. I have asked you off camera hard questions.
Yeah.
But I also have walked alongside you, gone on.
You have been on a scamper.
Literal walked alongside you. I don't know how much I was scampering, but I was dressed for it. You also give people free opportunities to go out and see what you're talking about. And I think I have a responsibility. Anybody else who cares about Origin Park has a responsibility. Anybody who questions Origin Park has a responsibility to go out and see what this is all about and then spread the word. Because that's how we include people.
That's exactly right. And we're stewards. Ultimately, at the end of the day, we're stewards of time, we're stewards of resources. And in my world of parks, if we do it right, we're stewards of these lands.
Absolutely.
And it gets really heavy if you take it seriously and you step back and you say, it has to be bigger than me, it has to be everyone's piece. And it gets scary and people get pushed out of their comfort zone a little bit, or people may be asked to re-articulate a space, and things like jurisdictional boundaries have to fall away. Stuff has to fall. And then the land and the stories and the people reveal themselves to you. And if you can respond thoughtfully, I've seen some amazing stuff done here and across the globe.
So but when you say that though, so answer me this.
Yeah.
Jurisdiction and all of that, you've been called visionary, entrepreneurial attitude that you possess that. This Origin Park is unlike anything we've seen. And we see the acquisition of land. What if, Scott, what if everything you want for this doesn't come true? Isn't this still going to be an amazing park?
Oh, yeah.
Because people are buying in, and my emotions of pulling it in isn't really right. It's people are buying into this. But what if you don't get everything?
You can always make things work is the answer. You got to articulate, like you said, better than I ever could, the big vision, the big idea. Never be scared of the big idea. Never, ever, ever. Just to quote David Jones, if it can be done anywhere, it can be done here.
I love that.
So start there. And then here's the key though, with competence, expertise, knowledge, you knock it out step by step by step. We're not going to the moon in one day. Every step though has to be clearly delineated with accountability, responsibility, and you follow it through. And it's just, it's eating the elephant one bite at a time. There are days, Angie, where my 2 a.m. is like, how in the world are we going to pull this off? This community, our community has done over $200 million in private giving for public parks over the last 15 years. Does our community have another major park in it? Second, are we willing to do it in a part of our community that has never been served by that level? This area that we're working in has been the site of environmental injustice for years. It has been the site of neighborhoods that have been forgotten about and never had a voice go to bat for them. Are we ready as a community to step up and fix that injustice? Those are the things that keep me up, but they're also the things that make you go, yeah, this is the right thing to do.
I wanted to ask you about that. We have just a couple more questions. I know you're going to stick around with us. We're going to put you through the ringer in a few.
Sure.
The ringer with a smile. We have food and we have trivia. It's all good. Does this keep you up at night, whether it's in a way that would be distressing or exciting?
It's it's excitement. It's excitement tinged with an incredible sense of responsibility to get it right. That self has to fall away. And pulling the community together to achieve something great. But no, and I can say this now, this landscape excites me more than the Parklands landscape excites me. The stories are more compelling and they're more important to get right. And we're pushing some boundaries here too, that we didn't push out there.
Absolutely. Have to ask you this, we're in the midst of a pandemic.
Yeah.
We are in the most challenging time for people financially, for people mentally, for people even physically.
Yeah.
And this has not been a healthy time. This is a scary time. There are so many things that are going on that why should people care about Origin Park?
If we can't make the argument for the value of public parks after what we've gone through now, we really need to get out of this line of work. The global number that we're seeing is a 200% increase in the use of public parks. We lost our churches, our bars, our restaurants, our libraries, our concerts, our music halls, our sports performances. We lost everything. The only thing we had left were these great public green spaces. And you look at the Ohio River Greenway and what it did and how it helped people with their mental health and their physical health in the last year and a half. It just makes you say we have to double down.
During the midst of the actual quarantine, what was your favorite thing to do outside?
My wife and I got into birding at a ridiculous level across Indiana. We just got ate up with following and chasing birds. From our backyard feeder to driving to Gibson, to driving to Goose Pond, to being at the falls. We saw, I think our list for last year was well north of 300 new bird species in the area that were on our bird list. So that was it. And it forced us to slow down and look up. And you've heard me say it when I walk, but I really encourage people. The tendency in the Midwest, in this part of the world, is to take nature for granted. It's just this green wall. Where do you go to see nature? Well, we're going to Yellowstone, or we're going to Rockies. And those are great places. I want to tell people those are awesome. But what we have here is just as special. But it requires a sensitivity of the heart and soul to open up, slow down, and look at it. In our park, and we're going to help you get on our social media page, we'll show you ways to do that. They cost you nothing, but you'll never look at home the same way again here because it's remarkable.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time.